What is up, Sheeples? This is Z.
Hello, Sheeples, and this is 1000-7. We are back.
We're
I
back,
think I'm
back.
keeping my name 1000-7 today because I think it's a good way to be back in general.
You
No different names,
chose
no food names.
wisely.
Honestly, like it's been a while, and sadly, like we recorded this episode beforehand,
Yeah,
and turns out
that
it
was a
was
complete doozy. I mean, it was off
yeah,
sync. There were technical issues. Both of
and
us
then
were not
the data
aligned.
got corrupted at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah, that was messed up. That was messed up. But you know what? We figured that let's sort of start with a new day, and after the gap that's been there, we're
Dude, like it
we're
was
we're
basically
back.
the computer telling us that like y'all need to record this again because
Yep,
it's not worth it. Like
it's
this
not
is this
worth
is
it.
not the sheep's
Yeah, but
quality.
this is not sheep. SQ scenes like SQC pass nahi tha. But you know that's the
हाँ,
thing, right? Like that's the one thing that we wanted to talk about, and we were like, why haven't we spoken about that before? Why haven't we spoken about this
yeah,
before? And that's going to be food, and a very specific is going to be how everyone's perception of food has changed during Corona times, during the lockdown.
yeah. I
And
mean,
I
we have
guess,
spoken about food, I gotta say, like with our good friend Hormus. Shout
oh my
out to
god,
Hormus.
dude, Baker Baba in the house. What's up? What's up? What
We
was
need to
that?
get him on again.
Well, what is his famous Kandivali chaat place? Mangesh chaat. Mangesh, something like that. Some crazy place. We spoke about so
Ganesh,
many good things.
I need to ask him again.
Yeah, we need to. A great chance to talk to him about food again. But in specific, we wanted to like talk about how most people have either tried their first hand at cooking in these past 6 months or have really upskilled their game. I have been one of those who's come in the first category where I've sort of learned stuff and have gotten around to exploring the Indian cuisine particularly. And I think that's pretty interesting because
Yeah.
as somebody who grew up in the 90s, or who sort of uh, grew up with a lot of Western culture influence, the first thing we want to learn when we grow up is stuff like pizzas and burgers. We want to learn how to cook hummus. We want to learn how to cook like stir fries and noodles and stuff
True.
like that. The Indian food kind of gets left behind, don't you think so?
Yeah, like the funny thing is, so one of the things I find in this matter is like we've been eating Indian food in general, right, at home, and around the time we grew up, it was like the rise of McDonald's and
Oh my
like
god.
rise of all these
Did you get one
fast
of those
food
douchey
places.
pictures with Ronald McDonald on sitting on a bench?
Dude, like I remember there used to be such big lines to get into McDonald's like
Fuck
early
yeah.
on. We
Were you
got
one of
we,
those cool kids who's had his birthday celebrated at McDonald's though?
I was just about to say like you remember the
I
birthdays being celebrated at
Dude, I
McDonald's.
think I think if you did that, you officially got the jock person
Dude.
coolest ticket for life kind of qualification up front. ऐसा stamp
I
लगता
was,
था सर पे. This is
I
going
was
to be a cool
definitely
kid.
not the cool kid, and I was definitely not the cool kid in
But
school.
you're the cool kid
Not gonna
now,
lie.
so guess who's winning?
Oh my god, no.
Who else has a podcast?
No. No. It's. I mean, I love
Who?
everybody from my school. They're doing
I
really
know.
cool
I'm just
things.
messing with you.
They're awesome. But this is the rise of fast food and American food and
Mm-hmm.
other
Mm-hmm.
cuisines in general. Uh, and we kind of grew up in that era of like, oh, this is so cool. We should eat the burgers and the pizzas and all like Domino's, Pizza Hut, all these
Yeah.
places. And we always had the Indian cuisine in the background, but we never really truly got to appreciate it when we were kids because it was
Very true,
always kind
man.
of like fast food.
Yeah, and it's I mean, for me, it sort of
Yeah.
always was that I perceived that cooking Indian food was really tough. Like, I would
Yeah.
and also another topic that I want to touch on is unfortunately I've always had the privilege of having food served to me. There's this magical creature in everybody's house called the mum, right? The mother who basically always makes sure before you wake up you have your breakfast and you have your lunch and you have your dinner. And
Yeah.
I mean, the past 6 months gave me an opportunity to really connect with her and really
Yeah.
witness, because she used to be in the kitchen, so I would go sit with her and talk to her, and that got me curious. That, oh, okay, what are you making? You're making dal. Oh, that's how you make
Mhm.
it. I'm like, wait, if you're making dal and using this preparation, you're making sabzi and you're making this the same preparation, aren't they really easy? And she's like, yeah, like why do you think it's difficult? And I'm like, shit. And I got these little nuggets of realization. And then, I mean, I got to tell you, initially, it wasn't the easiest. Like, for some reason, and I'm going to respect my mom's reasons, but she's always been averse
Mm-hmm.
to me entering the kitchen. Like, I know the activist inside of me
Oh,
wants to call out, like,
I know,
sexist.
I know what you're saying,
Oh, yeah, right? You,
because
you have that
though
too, right?
though it's more so for me, it's more so like you're too clumsy and you
ये
shouldn't.
किचन जला देगा सीधा.
Ah,
केमिकल
I
एक्स
mean,
बनने वाला
she
है
she
आज.
does tell me though, like you should learn to cook good food and all that. I'm like, yeah, I want to. Then let me go and cook good food. Like
Wait,
it will
wait. You
make
know
it.
what? I got a joke. If 1000 - 7 goes in the kitchen, he has more chances of inventing the Powerpuff Girls than making roti. Like, is that what
Yeah,
your
yeah,
mom
yeah.
thinks too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ये
So
chemical
she's
eggs
like,
बनाने वाला है.
she tells me you should learn, but then she also doesn't let me get into the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
No, that,
it's
that
a, it's
that's
a
like a
dilemma.
it's a weird space with moms, yeah. Like, I mean, they can be the coolest people, but they can have some of the most irrational fears. Like पूरी दुनिया का मतलब ऐसा, all of the weird and the bad thing in the world are going to happen to me only. Okay,
Yeah.
unless I put on that red tika and wear a
I
white
think
shirt, then I'm clean. So
so during quarantine, like you said, with there was one of the things that was happening was people were starting to become more
yeah,
chefy at home in a way, if you want to call
yeah,
it that.
chefy,
Um,
nice word.
chefy.
The chefy
But
scenes hore
the other
laga.
part of it was like being very healthy, right?
True.
So, like when you say that your moms are scared about the randomest things, most irrational things at times, I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna go cycling in the morning. She's like, Arey, but like if you get into an accident, what will happen? And all that. I'm like, it's fine. There's nothing
Like,
happening to me. It's
mom, I'm
okay.
gonna be going at 10 kilometers an hour. Like,
Yeah. Like I drive a car. It's
like
fine. Like
people
I'm in a
walking have
worse
more
position while
chances of
driving.
being in an accident, but ठीक है यार, moms are cute that way. Like,
Moms,
they have
moms.
their,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, that's
very
what
sweet
makes them
that they
cute.
have such concerns.
Yeah,
To be
yeah,
honest.
you're right. I mean, like, the whole health aspect really started getting to people. A lot of people,
Yeah,
I mean, because I think that it was a pretty in like a very natural thing to happen, right? Because gyms were
yeah,
shut. Like, where would you go exercise? And then a lot of people are not accustomed to home workouts. And
yeah,
I mean, when you can't work out, the only other thing you can do is like watch what you're eating. Like, on the
yeah,
plus side, I think at least for a good 2 months, all
yeah.
restaurants were shut. So I guess everybody got like a nice detox. Um, but I
I
think
think the best part about this is like people started learning to cook healthier in that
exactly,
sense.
like, I mean, I'm sure like YouTube saw like a spike in their recipes
Oh
category where
yeah.
everyone exploring all the way from dhabe wali dal tadka to like stuff like hummus or
Yeah.
hummus or however, like if you're
Hummus.
the hummus kind of guy and you want to call it that. But I saw
Uh,
YouTube show like a spike, and I'm somewhere I'm really grateful that that kind of resource exists. Like, you could, but for me, like, that's what I decided, that instead of
mhm.
learning international recipes with ingredients I didn't have, I realized that I have my mom at home, which is like a treasure trove of knowledge by itself. So I figured that, hey, I have ingredients readily at home and I know somebody who's
Yeah,
willing to teach me. So why
yeah,
not that? So I mean, I got my hand around, I got to try around stuff like dal and sabzi and chapati. And chapati is still anything but round. It's just a polygon. Like, that's all I can say. It's just a figure with n number of sides. There is no circular rotis in this house that I can make. But it was really cool, man. Like, I can make my own Indian meal now, and I know it shouldn't sound like a big achievement, but I mean, I can do it. So
that's really cool. That's really cool.
yeah,
So I have a question for you.
yeah.
What has okay, two questions actually. What has been the most challenging dish for you to make, and what is the best dish you've made, like with Indian cuisine throughout this lockdown?
Ooh, nice. I guess one of the most difficult dishes that I would have made would be I tried my hand at biryani and
Mm-hmm.
like and okay, if you think vegetarian biryani is called pulao, I'm gonna say pulao. Whatever floats your boat. But I
Uh-huh.
tried my hand at pulao slash biryani, and I think it's one of the most difficult things just because of how many moving parts are in there. Because the biryani is basically like
But
sabzi.
then you said like if it's vegetarian biryani, there aren't any moving parts in there.
Nice. Hey, but also, what if vegetables have moving parts we just can't see? and choose to ignore. So yeah, there were moving parts. See that dark ho gaya ekdam. No, I mean, so yes, lack of moving parts, yes, but too many variables. Because there's vegetable and there's rice and there's dal. It's like a
Yeah.
whole lot of stuff going on in there. But it turned out really cool, man. Like after like a couple of failed attempts, I was able to figure out. But I had my mom around me all the time, so that was amazing. And the good part of my mom is like, like if your biryani just doesn't become a biryani, we'll just think we ate khichdi. And I was like, hey, that's a
That's cool.
nice, a forgiving
Yeah.
attitude. And I think you can only get that with your mom. Like if anyone else, they'll be like, hey, chutiya, क्या बना रहा है? तुझको आता नहीं है? सीधा सर पे चप्पल ही मारेगा.
uh,
But yeah, my mom, that was pretty cool for me. Did you try to like figure out anything? Did you get a chance to cook like basic stuff, like maybe
so
like
I
sandwiches and stuff like that?
Nah, bro, I think cooking hasn't been something that I actually pursued during the lockdown, but then I think I feel kind of bad about it as well because I want to.
Uh huh.
But then like I don't know, it just didn't end up happening like I should have.
I know, man.
Uh
I can feel that, but I sense like so since you've gone back to your health binge, I'm sure that like
yeah.
somewhere in the near future you're gonna be trying your hand at a
Oh,
lot of stuff.
definitely. Like I think I wanna. One of the things I wanna try, if possible, is like get started a little bit on cooking.
Mm-hmm.
um at least to some extent, like because I just want to see what I can do, right? I've always been a fan of this whole cooking thing, but before I move ahead with that, like you didn't answer one question, by the way. Just gotta say,
What one? What
what's
was
your
that?
best dish?
Oh, dude, I think if I have to say, my best dish is plain simple dal.
There you go.
Man,
Okay.
fuck. I can make
Yeah.
such good dal. I'm so proud of the fact now. Though,
Nice.
though I have like a cheat code, like I use biryani masala in my dal. It makes my dal taste
Yeah, I,
amazing.
I
And
I wanted you to answer before like I went on with my whole point, because then otherwise we would have forgotten the question.
yeah, yeah. No, dude, like I guess the secret behind my dal and a lot of other good dals around the world is garlic. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of Jains don't want to hear that.
Mm,
But yeah, like if garlic makes Indian food, and I guess any kind of food, like it's just
I honestly, garlic really tastes so good
right.
in
It's
any place.
just
It
first of
makes
all, it's hard to
dishes
like
so good.
overdose garlic. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can really
I mean,
really sort of.
you can kind of overdose garlic, can't you?
Yeah, but it still has a parallel. Like if you eat the Momo red chutneys like you get like on the road, they're like
Huh.
fuck overdose with garlic. Like them, there is so much garlic that you would be surprised. But it sort of still
Huh.
has an appeal because it has like a nice spiciness to it, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
okay, not bad. I mean, if you want to make out with somebody after that, that's a bad idea. But
Yeah,
like,
no, that
I guess if you're solo and you're planning to spend your life single, can't go wrong with
uh,
garlic. So,
your significant other ain't gonna appreciate your
yep,
garlic breath.
yep, they're not. So the only way is
Yeah.
to like make them eat a lot of garlic too. So you're both in on the sin. Hey, तू क्या complain कर रही
Yeah,
है?
passing each other those garlicky fluids. Okay, no,
हाँ ना,
let's stop.
तू क्या complain कर रही है? तूने भी खाया है. Like
Uh,
you can just do the whole guilt trip. But yeah, bro. Like I mean,
yeah, nice.
if you have a partner that can
Sorry.
kiss you with garlic breath, I guess marry
Hey,
that person. Like
that's really cool. Like,
put a ring
stick
on
to
their
them.
finger.
Yeah. Unless you don't want to, which is fair enough as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
um,
Diplomacy. Like it's politically
Diplomacy.
correctness. Okay, let's
The
move on.
political correct climate
Sida,
that we are
bro.
in.
Also, do you want to like? I mean, I know that you haven't really cooked a lot, but I guess you will
Yeah,
connect on this because you sort of also
yeah. That's what I was gonna say, right? Like
yeah.
one of the biggest things for me has always been like I've always loved food in general, which I'm quite sure Z knows.
Yeah, yep, yep.
We speak a lot about food in general.
It took some love to get where you were at your lowest. I would just say that.
Yeah.
Some love.
So,
ऐसा थोड़ा थोड़ा प्यार रहेगा.
lowest and highest at the same time. Let's just say
Lowest and highest.
that.
सीधा.
It's just one of those things that like because of the diet and everything in between when I originally started dieting, used to kind of watch a lot of cooking videos and quite a lot of like food YouTubers. just to get
Yeah.
my fix of food in a way. Like if I
Yeah,
couldn't eat it,
have you ever done that? Like you're eating some really healthy dal chawali stuff, and then you put on some gourmet mukbang video and you watch that, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's what
oh
I'm eating. That's my
no, so
food.
I don't
I'm
I
not.
don't watch mukbang. I don't watch mukbangs
Uh
because
huh.
or mukbang. I don't know how you pronounce it. So one of those ways.
Huh. Uh huh.
Like because particularly like I don't like hearing people chew.
Okay.
If but that aside, like people just cooking videos, right? Like there are quite a few channels that like make really cool content around cooking and all that stuff. And um, if you follow like people like Sorted Food or Joshua Weisman, David Seymour, and all these people, like they have some really fun content to watch. Even Tasty, like you must have seen some Tasty videos.
That
It's
BuzzFeed
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah,
Buzz.
BuzzFeed
Why
thing.
did I go BuzzFeed? Is it BuzzFeed? It's
BuzzFeed.
kind of like
So
BuzzFeed, like just.
because people are tired of BuzzFeed at this point,
हाँ
BuzzFeed.
मैं एक नया निकाल रहा हूँ अपना BUSFEED.
Or you're hungry and you're like just BuzzFeed
बस फीड यार,
me.
लाइक अभी हो गया है मेरे को, मतलब अभी दे
हाँ.
कुछ तो सीधा कैलेंडर खाना लाओ प्लेट
Yeah.
पटक के मिस्टर इंडिया.
But yeah, so like I just used to live vicariously through those videos to kind of
वो लेक्सिकल
yeah,
रिसोर्स फ्लेक्सिकल लेक्सिकन.
lexical resources. And that's what I got used to, right? And over the past 2 years, I've really come to love videos about cooking and all that. And I've always wondered, like, can I make this? How will I make this? I want to learn, but I never took the step, right, towards cooking. And I would love to know, like, this is a question for you, Sheeples, as well. Like, what is it that got you all into the kitchen in the first place? Like, Fuzzy, what about you? Like, what was that one thing that got you into the kitchen? And like
dude
just starting to experiment.
dude, for me it was like it sort of is connected to food, but it's like a step before that. For me, the realization came in when I sort of uh, I don't know, want to say matured or grew up, or sort of realized that why is my mom making all the food in the house despite working
Ah,
like her own job? Like
right.
some point, I mean, it's not like she started and I got the realization. It randomly happened one day when I was just
Uh,
watching her, and weirdly she has no issues about it. It's like a second nature, so she doesn't even complain. But I
yeah.
saw the unfairness in that, because I would work one job and come home and just feel like बस हो गया यार, अभी मेरे को सब चाहिए silver platter में. But my mom would work one job and then come home and then work the other job, which is being a homemaker, which
Mhm.
which unfortunately highlights this. I don't want to get into that into much detail, but there is this
Yeah.
invisible patriarchy that sort of is still left over, and it's sad that
Mhm.
it's still there in urban settings, in metropolitan areas and like educated families. It's stale, but it still exists. So one day it hit me that this is happening, and I told my mom that, listen, I don't really care if you're uncomfortable anymore, because I think it's unfair for you to be doing all of that. So
Yeah.
you got to deal with the fact that I'm going to enter the kitchen and make my own food. And that was also the time when I was experimenting with a lot of plant-based cuisine.
Uh-huh.
And my house is, although vegetarian, it's predominantly a dairy consuming house. There's a lot of milk and a lot of yogurt and a lot of cottage cheese and cheese paneer, blah blah blah, all of
Oh,
that.
paneer is the best, just to
Yo,
say.
dude, I know. But I had like this weird phase where, like, for 6 months I was like only plant based. I wanted to see how it sort of affects my
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And so, I told her that I want to eat a lot of rajma and chole, which is basically kidney beans and chickpeas, and I want to eat a lot of soy and a lot of tofu and stuff like that. And she's like, but we don't eat that kind of stuff at home. And I'm like, exactly. So if I want to eat it, I'm going to find a way to make it so that, because that, imagine the degree of unfair. Like, she would work her day job, then she would make food for my dad and her, and then she would make a different kind of food for me. And I'm like, yeah, that's not right.
Yeah.
So I think that was
No,
my point. That was the
that's the cool thing, man. Like honestly, just it's one of those that motivated you to just get in and just
true. And
like
I'm
do
so
it,
glad,
right?
man. I'm
And
so glad, and I've realized that there is no right or wrong age, and which, and what you've asked, the question that you asked, sort of really highlights a very interesting point, that cooking your own food is very empowering. I mean,
yeah.
and I can only speak from the Indian cultural context, because I haven't lived overseas, is that in India we have an over dependency on another person to make our food from us. And for most people, it's not just the food, it's the chai also, it's the breakfast also. Like, even if I know a lot of people who, basically want a snack and they know exactly where the snacks are and they know
Hmm.
exactly what they want to eat, but they'll call out their mom and say, Mom, mummy, kuch khana hai. And the mom will be like, Beta, kya
Yeah.
khayega? It's like a grown ass 30-year-old. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
fucker, you know where the cabinets are, you know where the snacks are. Just go and, I mean, it's not like you even have to cook. So, unfortunately, we
I
have that.
so So just to say, this is more so like an Indian household thing for the people who aren't
Yeah,
like similar dynamic of like
very true.
the whole thing. Like, maybe we should like start looking at it as getting into the whole like helping your mother and helping your like taking up other chores in your household and like seeing as we've grown up in that kind of a like cooking during quarantine, right? Like, especially like people becoming chefs during quarantine. I think this was a very good time for people to kind of yeah, the people becoming chefy. Pick that like idea of cooking at home and cooking for themselves up like during this time because people had that time, right, to just explore in a way. Uh, in like just let themselves get into
True.
the whole process of cooking and because I think quite a lot of people genuinely it is one of those things that like really speaks to people, I guess, to an extent where
True.
you
I mean,
just enjoy your time.
it's existential, right? Like, you live to eat. Like, that's the reason
Yeah.
why you go to work, right? So, I mean, I get it. Like, the house and the car and all of that is a factor, but like the ultimate thing which everybody wants to do, and I guess that's like, food is the religion that unites everybody. Like, there is no more, like, if a lot of people say music is a universal religion, but I think even there are music, maybe people who are divided, there are camps, but like, food literally unites people so hard. And there's a reason for it, right? Because we literally and figuratively live to eat food. And if you know how to cook it, it's just so much easier. But yeah, if you're one of those who still
Yeah.
doesn't know how to cook it, and you don't want to, I guess that's fine too. Everyone should
It's
be.
it's not particularly a forced thing that you have to
Yeah, I
kind of
mean, it's
learn.
it's just that it would make life easier. It's not that life
Yeah.
can't exist without that skill. It's just that,
Though I do want to know Z from you like this whole thing about like you've been doing this a lot in quarantine, like you said you started cooking Indian cuisine.
yeah.
Um, has this cooking in general helped you in any other way than just like the fact that you wanted to learn something new, or like was it because I know that you've had a very like roller coaster of a quarantine over
Oh yeah,
over the
yeah.
months.
Just like everybody else, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I
I'd
mean,
like
yeah, that's like everybody's seen this year,
Yeah, but
but
I'd
like,
like to think mine was
yeah.
extra special because it gave me more troubles than other people. That thing we have ना कि
uh,
अरे मैं ही बेचारा हूँ, मेरे से ज्यादा तो बुरा किसी के साथ नहीं होता. Like,
I can't begin to say like holy shit that you had a time in the quarantine,
yeah.
dude.
No, that
Um,
was, I agree with you. It was sort of a tough time, and I guess one of the advantages that food offered me is that in the beginning, right? People have forgotten COVID. COVID is like a picture
yeah.
that people watched. Everyone's walking on, go like, यार picture बहुत डरावना था. But like, no, that's what
Yeah.
people are like, right? Because if you like look out, everyone's like
Yeah.
chilling and like. But ठीक है, I hope nobody finds
Yeah.
out
No matter
themselves.
what, like, yeah, just stay
True.
safe.
But yeah, in the beginning when it was insanely uncertain, and like that sort of has become a second nature. But nothing else that would give you like a significant reason.
Yeah.
And I guess with cooking, that significant reason was born, and it was amazing because it's so simple in its way, right? You chop the vegetables and you sort of you do the
Yeah.
tadka of
Yeah.
all the masalas. I mean, there's a method, and it's beautiful because following that method every single time gets you the same result. So there was this sort of familiarity, and there was this sort of monotony that was welcome. कि
Uh-huh.
अच्छा ये करूँगा तो ये होगा, that cause and effect which was otherwise not coming from other parts of life. So it really helped me sort of experience a lot of flow. It was very very zen in its approach. It felt nice, man. I wish you'd been able to sort of get your hand around it, but I'm sure that's going to happen very soon.
Yeah, like I said, 2021, I'm planning to. But like in general, do you think like it was just the fact that you were cooking a dish that was that uplifting, or was it like the process, the whole? I guess it's just getting into a rhythm, right?
Yeah,
To
you know,
that extent.
like you begin with I want to make dal, and in your head you're like, fuck yeah, वो एकदम hotel वाली दाल खानी है, you know, like that dal तड़का खानी
uh,
है, and like you begin with that vision, and then you sort of ask your mom how do you do it. So mom's like, well, this is the way I do it, and I'm like, okay, what if we overdose on this material? And she's like, why? And you're like, अरे let करते हैं कुछ अलग try करते हैं. And you
yeah,
do that. You're like, okay, you put in 5 garlics, I'll put in 25 garlics. Let's just see what happens. And then weirdly, when
yeah.
the dal turns out good, you're like, whoa, that is not bad. That is not bad at all. So I
But
guess
that
that,
sounds awesome.
yeah, the whole process of having a vision and like accomplishing that vision, it felt nice. But I gotta thank my mom because like she sort of was very open around the fact that if you fuck up, we'll eat whatever it is and we'll call it khichdi. And I think it's
Yeah.
important to have that kind of person in your life because otherwise learning anything new is very difficult if you don't have.
Hmm.
I mean, see that learning curve is always there. Initially, shit is insanely difficult, but if you have somebody who sort of looks at your misattempts and says, hey, that's not half bad, it makes it
Yeah.
makes it easier.
Yeah, true, true, very true. Though, like here's another thing. Did you try any of those trends that happened with cooking, like around lockdown? Like, I
No,
don't
dude. Like, I mean, I did not do any of the dalgona coffee. I
dalgona
mean,
coffee.
that's all that I remember. But I remember looking at
There's
dalgona
been
coffee, and
cloud bread. There's so much stuff
I'm
that's
like,
like.
साले ये बचपन से करते थे कॉफी फेंकना मतलब beating the coffee has been such a chindi thing that nobody even spoke about it, and then suddenly someone made a frothy coffee video. It was like, dalgona coffee, you wanna make it?
The one trend we did follow during lockdown was making a podcast because now everybody has
Fuck
one.
yeah! We're the leading by example. Leading by example. So cool, dude. Yeah, the only food trend I followed is making a podcast because podcast is a food trend as well. But
Food
dude, like
trend.
the one thing I want to speak about is what we
You eat
what
it from your ears, man. You consume from your ears.
I know, right? But the one thing we should do is really call out our friend Divya, who has her own Instagram page and
Oh
has
yeah.
this micro community of food lovers where she puts in like tasty food
Dude, like the work
recipes
she's
and
been doing on that. Well, it's not just her. So it's two of our friends, Divya
okay,
Father Maker and Mehul, who's
okay.
her friend basically,
What's up,
who's
Mehul? We haven't met,
like
but I'm sure you're a
they
cool dude.
together came up with the idea for this page, and it's basically this whole thing of they make recipes at home. Like it's a lot homely. It's a
Yeah,
lot more personal, and they'll put up the recipes. They'll put up the pictures of the food that they made, and it's basically like a really really feel good kind of page where you can just go look at feast your eyes in a way and learn how to make that. And they encourage you to try it at home, which
dude,
is
that is so cool,
really
man. I mean,
cool.
like, really, really, shout out to both of those dudes, both of those
Yeah,
people, Divya
the
and
food
Mehul.
overload, right?
Yeah, the food overall. If you're listening to this, please go check their page out. It is
Yeah.
just amazing. You're gonna get such food gasms. It's not even funny. This is like food porn on whole another level, but it's like
Yeah,
it's a nicer, cleaner food porn, not like
yeah.
30 burgers in one frame. And I think a lot of it is. So I was speaking to Divya, and she spoke about how her mom is also a treasure trove of recipes. She has so many.
Uh-huh.
She's like insanely talented, and also I know her mom's like a really big animal enthusiast. So that really adds brownie points in my head. Like animal enthusiast and can cook good food. Her mom's the coolest. So Divya, make your mom listen to this. Tell her that
Yeah.
you're gonna play table tennis with her very soon, right? And
Oh, I can't wait
we
to
gotta play
genuinely
PS.
hang out again. It'll
Yeah,
be so much
PS with
fun.
her too. So go check
Yeah.
out the Food Overload. It's a damn cool page.
Such a good page.
Yeah, they do some awesome stuff. But yeah, this was, I guess, our take
Before
on
we end,
Chefy
I
C's.
do have one last thing to ask you.
Let's go.
Has there been any kind of food that you've missed across the lockdown because we've not
Hmm.
been able to eat a lot? So,
Oh my
is there
god,
any one thing?
that is such a good question. That is
And
such a
this
good
is for you
question.
sheeples as well, okay?
Yeah.
Like, we want to know what is that one. food item or whatever it might be. Like
Yeah.
it might just be a chocolate bar, but like have what is it that you missed across
Hmm.
lockdown?
You know what? That's a really good question, and I guess you will have to read the blog for that because I'm trying to
Oh.
segue into like blog भी पढ़ो सालो हम लोग अच्छा लिखते हैं क्यों नहीं पढ़ रहे हो? But yeah, I guess the blog could be a good space where we talk about that
Yeah,
as well. I'll
yeah,
think over
yeah.
that. I have a couple of top contenders in my head, and just to tease a little
Hook
bit.
people in, hook people in. I'm just making this fishing rod sound right now in my head. Like I'm just pulling the fish.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna give you
Yeah.
like some hints. It could be shawarma, it could be an Indian thali, or it could be vada pav. Like just.
Oh.
Yeah,
I have a joke to make here, but
yeah, I know what it's going to be. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
okay, if I speak too much, then you might just get a tummy ache. Let's just say that.
अरे
So
ये मस्त ऐसा inside joke reference है. Internet people of the world. This is what a meme between two people looks like. Them laughing and nobody else.
but I would love to hear this story from Z himself, but that's up to him to share.
Yeah, no. So basically, long story short, I missed vada pav a lot, and then a few days ago I went out and I happened to cross my favorite vada pav stall, and he was open, and I did not know that.
Oh
And
my.
right from being insanely paranoid about hygiene, I somehow ended up being a vada pav, yeah,
Fiend.
vada pav fiend. And I'm like, भैया 8 वड़ा पाव पैक करना because I was like मेरे घर में 4 लोग हैं हम सब दो दो तो खा
हाँ
ही सकते हैं. And
हाँ.
I go home and mom's like I don't want, dad's like I don't want, sister's like
Oh
I
God.
don't want, and I'm like what about you Tane, what about you Z, and I'm
Uh.
like
Oh no.
I
That's good.
want, and like I ended up eating all of those vada pavs like fucking by myself, like just sat there looking in the mirror and eating vada pav and just judging myself so hard. But yeah, it was a bad idea because there is a reason why vada pav buffets don't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Like too much of anything can be a
yeah, they
bad
wreck
thing
your
for you.
stomach and how. So yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
get into graphics, but
Yeah.
I did not have a good day after that. So I took me a week to recover. And like at the same time I'm just contemplating over like how the fuck are our immune systems so weak. But I guess that's that. But
Yikes.
the plus side is I gotta eat
Isa,
vada pav.
yikes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
lots of red chutney and green chutney and dude, and like I didn't eat like regular vada pav. Okay, I just came home. I took the vadas out. I took the pav. I
हाँ.
put like lots of butter in it. Okay, and then
Yeah.
I like मैंने टोस्ट किया ब्रो पाव को बटर वाला फिर
Ah.
उसमें मैंने वड़ा डाला
Oh, oh no. You're
एंड
making me
देन
hungry, bro.
ऐसा
I'm
ग्रीन
on a diet. I
चटनी
can't.
ऐसा ग्रीन चटनी
I
लैदर
can't.
किया ऐसा रेड
Yikes.
चटनी
Oh,
स्प्रिंकल पाउडर चटनी
uh,
स्प्रिंकल किया ब्रो ऐसा फुल खाया ऐसा
no.
एक एक वड़ा वो मैं दो दो बाइट में खत्म किया ब्रो ऐसा पिग आउट किया ऐसा गंदा पिग आउट
Can I figure out in my head?
सीधा
Let's
like
just
I have
see.
become
Seeing the calories.
I have become a horror movie character in the universe of vada paws like they're like
No, no,
बेटा सो जा
you were Augustus Gloop from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
सीधा
The
एकदम
first guy, the guy who just liked to eat.
Oompa Loompas sang a song about me also.
Yeah.
Yep. Desi Oompa
Yeah.
Loompas, like just like Indian Oompa
The
Loompas,
Oompa
like
Loompas.
yep. Okay, I don't want to picture that. No. I guess this is a good time to end the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess this is a time to say goodbye. But we shall be back next
We
week.
shall be back. Why
And
say?
this time we'll have a guest with us. So we are kind of
Yay!
teasing you that. This one's gonna be a little more deeper because
Mm.
we kind of wanted to have this conversation with someone. Let's just say like it's about anxiety and it's with someone who's been in therapy about anxiety and it's something like we wanted to learn their perspective about. So it's a tease, yes, we know, but do wait for it. It's gonna be a very good episode next week. So we shall see you then.
We shall
Goodbye,
see
sheeples.
you.